Alright, so today UB released the patch notes for the big mid-season patch that should be arriving tomorrow. I'm not sure if the notes are on UB's website just yet, but if they are, I'll leave a link in the description because there are a lot of changes coming to the game tomorrow. And there are a bunch of changes that I'm actually a big fan of, and it seems like UB has been sort of listening to us, and you'll see what I mean in a little bit. Now, if you're new here, feel free to sub to the channel as it really helps me out, and let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, so let's start off with Peacekeeper. PK is getting a change that I've seen people request in the past. It has to do with bleed, so she's getting a new property that makes all of her light attacks enhanced if her target is bleeding. Enhanced light attacks are basically light attacks that don't bounce on block. For a while now, people have been asking UB to make PK's bleed mean something and somehow let her apply more pressure, and this was one of the suggestions I've seen floating around for a while now, and it's here. This should allow her to attack more often without getting stuffed by blocking, but that's not the only change she's gotten. A whole bunch of her recoveries have been sped up. This seems to be the theme of a lot of these changes in this patch. A lot of recoveries have been sped up, and these changes are welcome. Speeding up recoveries just makes combat feel more responsive and less clunky as you get control of your hero back faster. So yeah, PK gets enhanced light attacks on a bleeding target and has sped up recoveries in a few spots. If you wish to read everything, every single recovery change, feel free to read the patch notes as there are a bunch of them. Next up on the list is Valkyrie. This one is pretty simple. Again, sped up recoveries in a bunch of places. My favorite comes from the light finisher recoveries. If you play Valk at all, you know how long some of her recoveries are. So say you throw out a side light finisher and you whiff or your opponent dodges, you're sitting there stuck for a pretty long time and can't do anything. Long enough for your opponent to guard break you in some cases, or it'll leave you open to be attacked if you whiff it in a team fight or something. This is just a flat out Valk buff and something that we've wanted for a while. And since I play a lot of Valkyrie, I'm pretty happy about this. There are like 14 bullet points about recovery, so I won't go over them all, but the only other change for Valk other than the recovery changes is that her top light finisher now causes a light hit reaction instead of a heavy. Heading on down to Warlord, he's getting 2 quality of life changes here, which will go along really well with the testing ground changes if they get pushed through. The first is that they've tightened the timing to dodge a headbutt to 300 milliseconds. This is to try and prevent really early dodges from dodging the attack. The next change has to do with his zone attack. They've reduced the recovery of the zone attack to 600 milliseconds. That's down by almost half, as it was a 1000 millisecond recovery before. Not much happening to Warlord tomorrow, just a few minor changes, but they should help out. Next up is Conqueror. 2 changes here as well. Both are buffs to his light attacks. They've increased the speed of his light attack starters to 500 milliseconds, and they've increased the damage of his infinite chain lights to 18 from 13. They've been speeding up 600 millisecond light attacks for a while now, so the speed buff comes as no surprise. I didn't expect to see the damage buff on the infinite lights though. They claim it was because they felt the damage was too low and that discouraged people from trying to continue the change, so we'll just have to wait and see how that works out now, as 18 damage is pretty high at first glance for a light attack. Next up, Nobu. Faster recoveries on regular light finishers that don't trigger the combo. They're also giving Nobu's a change that they have been asking for. They've reduced the recovery of the zone attack feint after the first hit by 100 milliseconds so that her opponent wouldn't get a guaranteed guard break. That's it for the Nobu changes. Nothing crazy, but 2 quality of life changes that Nobu should like. One will be used way more than the other though. Then we see Shinobi get 1 change. Having a charged attack blocked from point blank no longer gives the opponent a guaranteed guard break. They felt that Shinobi was already taking a risk by letting the charged heavy go, so there was no need to give their opponent a free guard break just for blocking. Now onto a few more DLC heroes. Highlander is also seeing a couple changes. He's getting a recovery buff to his defensive stance heavy finishers. His enhanced lights from offensive stance will now cost 16 stamina instead of 27, and his full zone attack will only cost 60 stamina instead of 90. Shaman is also receiving reduced stamina cost to her full zone attack to 60 instead of 70. Tiandi is getting a stamina buff. They've removed the additional 20 stamina cost of canceling the side dragon dodge into a dodge. A very welcome change. There is actually no need for there to be the extra stamina cost for dodging. I hope they do the same thing with soft feint costs on other hero attacks one day as well. They've also adjusted all of Tiandi's right stance basic attack trajectories to be more horizontal. Shaolin is having his heavy relentless chain finisher recoveries shortened, as well as having the damage distribution of Death Point Strike, his 3-hit light attack, to 7, 7, and 7 instead of 12, 6, and 6. So overall, it's a slight damage drop of the whole thing from 24 damage to 21. It also makes using that light attack to get into key stance a little weaker, but it is still a solid attack, especially if you've got a teammate around. Black Prior's Tenebrous Rising has a dodge window of 200 milliseconds now to prevent very early dodges from dodging the attack, and Yorm's Zealot's Stride sprint attack has improved tracking. And that's about it for all of the hero specific changes, other than bug fixes of course. And there was one more sort of universal change. They've removed the brief 1-second stamina regeneration pauses that occurred during most zone attacks for 18 heroes. I like the majority of these changes. They're nice. There wasn't anything too crazy in here, but it makes all of these heroes better. Now on to more general changes coming to the game. They're continuing to mess around with revenge, so active feats and debuffs now work properly when receiving revenge gain. Receiving multiple attacks on the same frame will grant the right amount of revenge gain. Captains and guardians are no longer allowed to count as an active opponent, so they will not give any revenge gain. And finally, countering a guard break will not grant revenge anymore. I think I'll notice the last one more than the others just because it's something you do so often, countering guard breaks. We'll just have to wait and see how this works out. It could be a good thing for heroes who currently can't help out too much in a gank, for setting up teammates, or this can become annoying, who knows. The last big-ish change comes to Warlord's favorite map, High Fort. So High Fort is receiving a few changes that I can get behind. I like that UB is starting to mess with these maps. So at point A, the ledge at the staircase leading up to the zone has been blocked off. So this hole in the wall right here is being adjusted. At C, the bridge from the attacker spawn will now have railings. I figure this is to make it safer and to make it somewhat similar to the bridge from the defender's spawn, while making traps and the carries off the ledge happen less frequently at C. They also mentioned that some ledge openings near the entrances of C will be blocked off, but the middle bridge will still be wide open. They've also removed the spikes here at the base of the Viking statue. They left a little comment saying, although Zone C still has some ledging opportunities, we want the approach towards it to feel safer from one-shot deaths. Also, these spikes were overkill on an already dangerous area. I like these changes. It removes some of the ledges that were just there for no reason other than to just be there. There should be more of a focus on fighting there now, and you shouldn't die from making just one mistake or accidentally stepping into a trap as often. I do hope they continue to do this, getting rid of unnecessary obstacles and whatnot. It should make some of these maps more enjoyable to play on. And finally, they fixed a ton of bugs and messed around with how fire works. The time between each damage tick and the duration of fire has been doubled. Damage stays the same but is done over a longer period of time. I hope this applies to all fire and not just environmental fire. I mainly wanted to work on Fire Flask as that is a really strong feat, better than the other generic faction tier 4 feats like Catapult, as you can use Fire Flask literally anywhere and it doesn't need to be outside to be used. And if the fire damage on that kills slower, it should allow you more time to try and heal up before you're taken out. I'm surprised that they even looked into fire, honestly. They've also added more colors to the attacking and defender palettes, while also switching a few to neutral only, as they believe that some were confusing for team identification. And that was about it for the patch. Tomorrow is also the final day of testing grounds, I believe, so be sure to get in there and play those heroes before phase 1 finishes up. And as I said, I do like these changes. They don't address everything, of course, but it's something, and these heroes should feel better. I'm looking forward to playing around with PK and of course Valkyrie more. I don't think Peacekeeper will be awesome, but the change definitely makes her better, and now bleed is more useful. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. Again, I didn't read every single thing that was included in tomorrow's patch, but I will leave a link down to the notes if you'd like to read them for yourself. As usual, I do want to hear what you guys think, so talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.